Hi everyone, welcome to All Four Queens. I hope you're all doing well on this Saturday morning and you're looking after yourselves. I'm back again. I tried to do this yesterday and I said on a previous one that someone's throwing out, be mindful when people pop back into your life and you've not seen them or heard from them for a long time, because basically they were trying to attach to your energy. And last couple of days I noticed that there was a lot of energy around. Obviously I've cleansed a lot, but I tried to do it yesterday and I was sort of like it was like conflict magic and confusion magic, and I did it. I did the recording, but I wasn't quite happy with it. And normally I don't normally do that. I normally just upload, but it seemed to be, I was like all over the place a little bit. So I'm redoing it today because obviously I sensed what it was. I stopped and I just thought, you know what, I'm having a self-care day. And that's exactly what I did. And I just did a lot of cleansing and stuff to sort of like, and a bit of meditation and stuff and talking to people, you know, your guides and that, just to clarify. But yeah, just be really mindful, you know, when you don't hear from people for a long time, you gotta ask yourself, why are you popping up now? And obviously there's all sorts of stuff going on, isn't there, because people are being exposed about things. And me personally, I just think surrender. It's, you know, cycle's closed, 999, just get on with it. You know, we've all had to go through it, and now everyone else has to go through it. I have got something else though. When I was in reflection, I was thinking to myself, isn't it interesting how we all got locked up in lockdown 2020, 1920, and because like we all got locked away, and obviously people weren't with energy and stuff, and then all of a sudden we come out of lockdown and all the places that were built on a faulty foundation are crumbling. It's interesting that, isn't it? So whose energy and whose destinies did they actually take? It's one food for thought, isn't it? Have a think about that. And we might talk about it later on in some of the other sessions when we get to do some lives and stuff, because it's interesting, isn't it? And we know that money and inheritances have been stolen from us. So it's quite interesting that maybe other people were feeding off us more than the ones that we thought were. I know in my case they were. But hey ho. Yeah, interesting, isn't it? Anyway, today's session is about Judas. So I've done Jezebel and I said I'd do Judas as well. Is Kariat. Is Kariat. Judas is Kariat, right? So we know that Judas got paid 30 pieces of silver because he said that he would hand Jesus over. And the reason why I'm going into this one is because it's all about discernment and intuition, but also about betrayal and the fact that Jesus already knew who his betrayers were going to be. But I think as well, from our intuition and our downloads and our discernment, we already know what's going on. We don't, because maybe it's on the subconscious and not in the conscious, we don't actually have the facts to prove it. But once you awaken, then obviously it all comes to the forefront, because your guides and the spiritual realm will start to then just give clarification, because you already know it. You already know who's who and who's done what. You just haven't had the physical proof, so that sometimes you start to question your intuition. And that's why we're here to sort of say, don't question your intuition. Your intuition will never let you down. Your intuition is your intuition. But sometimes if you're around a lot of people who are holding on to something, and all they'll do is gaslight you, and they'll manipulate and they'll deceive, because it's easier for them to do that than actually tell the truth. It's just the way it is. So anyway, the overview is that he betrayed Jesus by disclosing Jesus' whereabouts for the 30 pieces of silver. He agreed with the high priest to deliver Jesus to them, and he said, "What will you give me, and I will deliver him unto you?" And that's in Matthew 26, 14, 16. Now, we also know that Judas did try and repent for his sin, because he tried to give the money back. But obviously, he also committed suicide as well, because of, you know, how bad he felt about it. And that's as reported in the Gospel of Matthew and the Acts of Apostle. So, and then when Jesus talks to his apostles, and I'm going to read it now, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to start from Jesus anointed at Bethany, because then obviously it flows through. Right, so let's get into it then. So Jesus anointed at Bethany. While Jesus was in Bethany, in the home of a man known as Simon the leper, a woman came to him with an alabaster jar of very expensive perfume, which she poured on his head as he was reclining on the table. When the disciples saw this, they were indignant. "Why this waste?" they asked. "This perfume could have been sold at a high price and the money given to the poor." Aware of this, Jesus said to them, "Why are you bothering this woman? She has done a beautiful thing to me. The poor you will always have with you, but you will not always have me. When she poured this perfume on my body, she did it to prepare me for burial. I tell you the truth, wherever this gospel is preached throughout the world, what she has done will also be told in memory of her." Judas agrees to betray Jesus. Then one of the 12, the one called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and asked, "What are you willing to give me if I hand him over to you?" So they counted out for him 30 silver coins. From then on, Judas watched for an opportunity to hand him over. Now, I think we've all been there, haven't we? Friends, family, colleagues, you name it, we've been there, and strangers probably as well. The Lord's Supper. On the first day of the feast of the unleavened bread, the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Where do you want us to make preparation for you to eat the Passover?" He replied, "Go into the city to a certain man and tell him, the teacher says, my appointed time is near. I am going to celebrate the Passover with my disciples at your house." So the disciples did as Jesus had directed them and prepared the Passover. When evening came, Jesus was reclining at the table with the 12, and while they were eating, he said, "I tell you the truth, one of you will betray me." They were very sad and began to say to him one after the other, "Surely not I, Lord." Jesus replied, "The one who has dipped his hand into the bowl with me will betray me. The Son of Man will go just as it is written about him. But woe to that man who betrays the Son of Man. It would be better for him if he had not been born." Then Judas, the one who would betray him, said, "Surely not I, Rabbi." Jesus answered, "Yes, it is you." While they were eating, Jesus took bread, gave thanks and broke it, and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take and eat, this is my body." Then he took the cup, gave thanks, and offered it to them, saying, "Drink from it, all of you. This is my blood of the new covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. I tell you, I will not drink of this fruit of the vine from now on until the day when I drink it anew with you in my Father's kingdom." When they had sung a hymn, they all went out to the Mount of Olives. Right, so before I get on to Jesus predicts Peter's denial, I just want to go back to the point where he says, the man who had dipped his hand into the bowl with me will betray me. Do you remember on one of my earlier ones, I make a point about saying everyone's hand in the cookie jar? So if you haven't watched it, go watch it, because they get quite excited in that one. But it's the same principle, isn't it? You know, we're aware that people have cut us out of things, taken things, taken opportunities, i.e. for me, like, you know, causing me problems in work, making me lose jobs, making me lose opportunities, deleting emails, even voluntary work, deleting my GoFundMe, all that sort of stuff. That's still your hand in the cookie jar, because that's still your hand in the cookie jar of God's work. You know, I always believe that, you know, nothing is free and everything we have is by the grace of God. So, you know, you should be grateful for what you have, and gratitude and being humble goes a long way. But when you steal from other people, you're just creating karma, because it's not necessary. So I hope that makes sense. But the same with the terms of the betrayal, you know, he put his hand in the bowl, and people that put their hands in our cookie jars as well. Same principle. So Jesus predicts Peter's denial. Then Jesus told them, This very night you will all fall away on account of me, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I have risen, I will go ahead of you into Galilee. Peter replied, even if all fall away on account of you, I never will. I tell you the truth, Jesus answered. This is the very night before the cock crows, you will disown me 3 times. But Peter declared, even if I have to die with you, I will never disown you. And all the other disciples said the same. So I'm going to leave it there, because I think we all know that the story goes that he does disown, Peter does disown Jesus, and then obviously Jesus is arrested, and then obviously the process continues. But the reason why I read that, because the next one I'm going to do, and I was guided to do it yesterday, but obviously I did a self-care day yesterday, is about the disobedience and the defeat. I'm going to do that next, because it all sort of links in. But before I do that, I just want to show you these cards that came out. Now, this is the Kipper deck. And I was just asking a question about a couple of things. And this is the Kipper deck, so I think it sort of like aligns to this. So there's a poverty. And I think this comes back to all the energy we're all feeling. There's a poverty in the community because of all the toll, basically toll and labour, but all the hard work, basically, all the hard work. Now they're thinking, because they're in despair, because it's come to an end of a courtship with a false person. And that could be man or female, it doesn't matter, because there's a court case, or there's adjudication, or however you want to look at it, over some sudden wealth, and there's a trap or imprisonment. Remember what I said. Now, I sort of said, well, what does that all mean? And then they said there was an expectation from a mature man who got a message of concern about, now that could be like in the previous one, it doesn't necessarily need to be marriage, but it's about a partnership. And remember, there's a courtship in the previous one, about a partnership, marriage, whatever, to a main male. Now remember, the energy doesn't have to be a man, it's just what that they're embodying at the time, but it could be who's on his pathway because of ill health. So it could be that 2 men got married and there's, one of them not very well. It could be there's a woman and a man and one of them's not very well. But yeah, so it just shows that obviously the what's the name person, the false person, being probably the Judas. So I think that sort of concludes today's one. I think most of our stories are the same. If you're watching a lot of tarot, I mean, I would advise probably not to, just go with what your guides are giving you. But if you're watching it, you'll see that most of our stories are the same. We've all had betrayals of people betraying themselves to sort of like lock us out and do stuff, or put us in programs, or whatever it is. So yeah, so I think most of the story is the same. Hopefully that gives you an insight. If it sort of resonates with you, know that you're not alone at all. Like, share and subscribe. I'm going to start saying that more now. Hopefully it will go somewhere, but please do it, because obviously it's important. 1, we beat the bullies, and 2, obviously we get the message out to everyone so that everyone knows they're not alone on this journey, because it can be quite isolating if you don't know why everything's happening to you. So it's important that we sort of reach out to those people as well. So take it easy, and I'll see you soon. Bye.